There comes a moment in life when you have to ask yourself, am I being nice or am I being used? Many of us were taught from childhood, be nice, don't argue, always smile. But what happens when that niceness turns into weakness? What happens when you wake up one day and realize you spent your whole life saying yes to people who never had your best interests at heart? I'm here to tell you today, stop being nice to everyone, because not everyone deserves your kindness. Not everyone deserves your time, and not everyone is meant to walk this journey with you. Some of you are exhausted, not because you're working too hard, but because you're constantly bending over backward to make everyone happy. You're afraid of conflict, afraid of being disliked, afraid that if you stand your ground, people will leave. But let me ask you, if they leave because you finally choose yourself, were they really with you to begin with? Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not telling you to be cruel. I'm not telling you to be harsh. There's a difference between being kind and being a doormat. True kindness comes from strength, not fear. Strength means you love people, but you don't let them control you. Some of you have spent too long saying, it's okay, when it's not okay. Some of you have been quiet when you should have spoken up. Some of you have given second chances to people who never deserved the first one. Let me tell you this. God did not create you to be used, abused, or manipulated. He created you with wisdom, with discernment, with strength. And strength requires boundaries. A tree that grows wild with no pruning will never bear good fruit. The same is true for your life. If you let everything in, every demand, every expectation, every toxic relationship, you will lose yourself. You will dry up. You will break. The fear of disappointing people has kept too many of you trapped. But hear me. It is better to walk alone with purpose than to walk with a crowd that drains you. If you lose people by setting boundaries, let them go. If they were meant for you, they would respect you. If they truly cared, they wouldn't need you to suffer to make them comfortable. So I ask you today, when will you stop? When will you stop letting people drain you? When will you stop smiling while you're suffering? When will you stop saying yes when your soul is screaming no? Today is the day you stop being nice to everyone. Not because you're unkind, not because you don't love people, but because you finally choose to love yourself. Let today be the day you walk in wisdom, in strength, and in truth. Not everyone deserves your yes, but you deserve your peace. From the time we are young, we are told to be nice. We are taught to be polite, to smile, to avoid conflict, and to make sure we don't upset others. It sounds good on the surface, doesn't it? Being a good person, being liked, being someone that others can depend on. But what happens when that niceness turns into a trap? What happens when being nice becomes an expectation that others exploit, rather than a virtue that comes from your heart? Many people live their lives shackled by the idea that they must always be agreeable. They must always accommodate, always say yes, always make sure that no one is ever upset with them. It starts with small things. Staying quiet when someone speaks to you disrespectfully. Agreeing to plans you don't want to be a part of. Pretending to be okay when you are not. And then over time it grows. You start to say yes to responsibilities that drain you, to relationships that hurt you, to commitments that steal your energy and joy. You give, and you give until there is nothing left of you. What makes this even more dangerous is that people will take from you as long as you let them. If you are always available, people will expect you to be. If you never say no, people will assume you never have a reason to. If you never set boundaries, the world will not give you space to breathe. And the saddest part, you begin to think this is normal. You start to believe that your exhaustion is just a part of life, that your unhappiness is just something you have to live with, that your voice doesn't matter as much as everyone else's. The truth is, being too nice can be a burden rather than a blessing. It can put you in situations where you are constantly undervalued and overlooked. People respect those who respect themselves, and if you never demand respect, you will never receive it. There's a difference between being a good person and being a person who is afraid to stand up for themselves. There's a difference between kindness and weakness. True kindness comes from strength, from knowing when to give and when to withhold, from knowing that your time and energy are valuable, and from understanding that not everyone deserves access to you. Many people will never tell you this, but I will. Not everyone deserves your kindness. Not everyone deserves your patience. Not everyone deserves the energy you pour into them. There are people in this world who will take everything you have to give and then leave you empty. And if you allow that to happen, you are just as responsible as they are. Being too nice to everyone doesn't make you a better person. It makes you an easy target. There is a dangerous lie that many people believe, that being kind means never upsetting anyone, never saying no, and never standing your ground. But let me tell you something. Kindness is not the same as weakness. Too many people confuse the two, and because of that, they find themselves trapped in a life where they give endlessly and receive nothing in return. They let others walk all over them, thinking they are doing the right thing. They avoid conflict, thinking they are keeping the peace. But true peace does not come from sacrificing yourself to please others. It comes from knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone take advantage of you. Think about the strongest people you know, the ones who inspire you, who command respect, who live with purpose. Are they cruel? No. Are they heartless? No. But do they allow others to manipulate them? Absolutely not. These people understand something that many struggle to accept. Kindness should never come at the cost of self-respect. You can be kind and still say no. You can be kind and still say no. You can be kind and still remove people from your life who treat you poorly. Too often, people remain in toxic situations because they are afraid of appearing mean. They tolerate disrespect because they don't want to seem difficult. They allow themselves to be drained because they don't want to disappoint anyone. But here's the truth. If someone only values you when you are saying yes, when you are bending over backward, when you are making their life easier at the expense of your own, then they do not truly. They value what they can get from you, and that is not kindness, that is control. Being kind means treating people with respect, compassion, and fairness. But it does not mean allowing yourself to be used, manipulated, or taken for granted. If your kindness is making you feel small, exhausted, and resentful, then it is not kindness, it is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of disapproval, fear of standing alone. But hear me. It is better to stand alone in truth than to stand with a crowd that only values your silence. You do not owe everyone access to your time, your energy, or your heart. You do not have to sacrifice your well-being to prove that you are a good person. True kindness is powerful, but it must be paired with strength. Because when kindness is given without limits, without discernment, and without self-respect, it stops being kindness at all. It becomes self-betrayal. There are people walking through life exhausted, not because they are overworked, not because life is too difficult, but because they are carrying the impossible weight of pleasing everyone. They wake up every day thinking about how to make others happy, how to avoid conflict, how to be the person everyone expects them to be. They shape themselves into whatever version of themselves people want, bending, twisting, and sacrificing who they truly are. But what happens when you spend your life pleasing everyone else? You lose yourself. People who live to please others are often the ones suffering in silence. They are the ones who say yes when they want to say no. They are the ones who stay in friendships, relationships, and commitments that drain them, all because they don't want to let anyone down. They are the ones who apologize even when they've done nothing wrong. And over time, something dangerous happens. They begin to believe that their worth is tied to how useful they are to others. They believe that their value comes from how much they give, how much they sacrifice, how well they fit into everyone else's expectations. But let me tell you a hard truth. No matter how much you do for people, it will never be enough. There will always be someone who wants more. There will always be someone who expects more. And the moment you stop giving, the moment you stop bending to their will, you will see their true colors. Because some people do not love you, they love what you do for them. They love the version of you that is convenient, that is agreeable, that doesn't challenge them. But the moment you choose yourself, the moment you set a boundary, they will accuse you of being selfish, of changing, of not being the person they thought you were. The cost of trying to please everyone is that you will end up pleasing no one, not even yourself. You will spend years of your life chasing approval from people who will forget you the moment you stop serving their needs. You will waste your energy trying to be everything to everyone, and in the process, you will be nothing to yourself. And the saddest part, when you finally collapse from exhaustion, when you finally break under the weight of expectations, the people you tried so hard to please will move on. They will find someone else to meet their needs. Because to them, you were never a person, you were a convenience. You were not created to be a people pleaser. You were not meant to live your life in fear of disappointing others. If pleasing everyone means losing yourself, then the price is too high. One of the greatest lies people believe is that setting boundaries is selfish, that saying no is rude, that standing up for yourself is unkind. But let me tell you the truth. Boundaries are not selfish. They are necessary. They are the guardrails that protect your mind, your heart, and your spirit. Without them, you become a puppet, controlled by the needs, expectations, and demands of others. Without them, you will live your life constantly drained, constantly stretched thin, constantly wondering why you feel empty, even when you give everything you have. Some people struggle with boundaries because they have been conditioned to believe that love means sacrifice. And while love does require giving, it does not mean losing yourself. Love does not mean saying yes to everything, tolerating disrespect, or allowing people to take advantage of you. If someone only loves you when you are making their life easier, that is not love. That is convenience. If someone is only happy with you when you are doing what they want, that is not a relationship. That is control. Think of your life like a house. If you leave the doors wide open, anyone can walk in. Some will enter with love, bringing warmth and kindness, but others will bring destruction, taking what they want and leaving a mess behind. If you never lock the door, if you never set rules, you will soon find yourself living in a house that is no longer yours. Your peace, your joy, your security, all of it will be stolen by those who never cared to protect it. Boundaries are the locks on the door. They don't shut people out. They allow the right people in. Many people are afraid to set boundaries because they don't want to lose relationships. But let me ask you, if a relationship only survives because you allow yourself to be mistreated, is that a relationship worth keeping? If someone gets angry because you say no, if they turn cold because you refuse to be used, that is all the proof you need that they were never for you. The right people will respect your boundaries because they respect you. The wrong people will make you feel guilty for having them. Do not be afraid to say no. Do not be afraid to disappoint people who expect you to live for them. Your time is valuable. Your energy is valuable. Your peace is valuable. And if someone truly cares about you, they will never expect you to destroy yourself just to make them happy. There are people who walk through life wearing a mask of niceness, smiling when they don't feel like it, agreeing when their heart says no, and pretending everything is fine when deep down they are tired, frustrated, and overwhelmed. They are not being nice because they want to be. They are being nice because they are afraid of conflict, afraid of rejection, afraid that if they show how they really feel, people will walk away. But let me tell you something. If people only like you when you hide your true self, they don't like you. They like the version of you that is easy, convenient, and predictable. Niceness becomes a mask when it stops being a choice and starts becoming a survival strategy. Some people have worn this mask for so long that they don't even know who they are without it. They say yes when they want to say no because they don't want to upset anyone. They go along with things they hate because they don't want to cause tension. They hold in their emotions, their pain, their frustrations, because they don't want to be seen as difficult. But the truth is, every time you silence yourself to make someone else comfortable, you are teaching them that your feelings don't matter. And over time, you start to believe it too. The danger of always being nice is that it attracts the wrong people into your life. When you are always agreeable, people assume you have no limits. When you never speak up, people assume you have nothing to say. And when you always give without asking for anything in return, people assume you need nothing. The problem is not that people are taking advantage of you. The problem is that you are allowing them to. You think that being nice will earn you love, respect, and loyalty. But more often than not, it only earns you exhaustion, resentment, and disappointment. There is nothing wrong with being kind, but kindness must be real. It must come from a place of strength, not fear. It must be a choice, not a habit of self-sacrifice. If being nice is making you feel drained, frustrated, or unseen, then it's time to take off the mask. It's time to stop living for the approval of others and start living in truth, because the people who truly love you will not leave when you set boundaries. The people who truly care will not be offended when you speak your mind. The right people will never require you to shrink yourself just to keep them comfortable. Too many people go through life believing that being liked is the most important thing they can achieve. They think that if they are agreeable, if they never challenge anyone, if they always put on a pleasant face, then they will be loved and accepted. But the truth is, smiles alone will not carry you through life. Pleasing people will not bring you peace. And being nice at the cost of your own self-respect will not give you strength. It will only leave you empty. There comes a time when you must decide who you are going to be. Will you be someone who goes with the flow, bending to fit the expectations of others? Or will you be someone who stands firm, who knows their worth, who refuses to live a life dictated by the opinions of others? The world does not respect people who only seek to please. It respects people who stand in truth, who have the courage to say no, who have the wisdom to know when to walk away. You do not gain strength by making everyone happy. You gain strength by knowing who you are and refusing to let anyone take that from you. Some people will try to convince you that being strong means being cold, being distant, being ruthless. But that is not true strength. Strength is not about being harsh. It is about being unshakable. It is about standing your ground even when people don't agree with you. It is about holding on to your values even when it makes you unpopular. It is about choosing what is right for you even when it disappoints others. Real strength is knowing that not everyone will understand you and being okay with that. If you live your life trying to be what everyone else wants, you will never discover who you were truly meant to be. If you say yes to everyone else's demands, you will never have time for your own purpose. And if you rely on approval from others to feel valuable, then your self-worth will always be in someone else's hands. Let me tell you this. You were not created to be a follower of opinions. You were created to walk in purpose, in wisdom, and in truth. So stop relying on smiles alone. Stop thinking that your value comes from making others happy. The world does not need more people who are afraid to stand up for themselves. It needs people who are strong, who are bold, who refuse to be molded by the expectations of others. And that choice is yours to make. You have spent too much time believing that your worth is tied to how much you give, how much you sacrifice, and how well you fit into the expectations of others. You have been told that being nice means always saying yes, always being available, always keeping the peace, even at the cost of your own well-being. But now, it is time to wake up. It is time to see that not everyone deserves your kindness. Not everyone deserves your time, and not everyone should have access to your energy. Niceness without boundaries leads to exhaustion. Pleasing everyone leads to emptiness, and a life spent seeking approval will leave you feeling used and forgotten. You were not created to live that way. You were not meant to shrink yourself so others can feel comfortable. You were meant to walk in strength, to love with wisdom, and to stand firm in truth. That means setting boundaries. That means saying no when you need to. That means understanding that your value does not come from how much you do for others. It comes from who you are. The world does not need more people who are afraid to speak up. It needs people who are bold, who are confident, who know their worth and refuse to let anyone take advantage of them. That choice is yours to make. Will you keep living for the approval of others, or will you rise in strength and take control of your life? The answer will determine not just how others treat you, but how you treat yourself. So, stand up, speak up, set your boundaries, and never again let the fear of disappointing others keep you from being who you were meant to be.